leaves you feeling blue, you can count on me. I will be there for you. When it seems that all your hopes and dreams are 1,000,000 miles away, I will be there for you. I will be there for you. I don't know the words to this song, but it's been an earbook in my brain all the day. Reach for the stars, la 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 la. Reach for the stars, la 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 la. Anyway, I thought of this title to make a video about Stop Being a Robot because, and then I couldn't think what to say because little me doesn't plan very much. So then I had this song in my head and it's like, yeah, I will sing, when it seems all your hopes and dreams are 1,000,000 miles away. And then I forget the words. And that's the brain fog. That's the brain fog. Come up with something brilliant to talk about and then completely forget what I'm going to say. Because that's what the brain fog does. And then that makes you kind of feel like you're being a bit of a robot. You're like, I need to plan what I'm going to say. So in any case, I see this a lot. I see this a lot where people struggle to communicate or struggle to be themselves and try and fit into an ideal box as to who they should be and how they should show up in life rather than being genuinely themselves. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying about being true to yourself, be expressing yourself and being able to be genuinely you. Because so many people have this fear of what's going to happen if they just do something silly or if they do something expressive or do something that might be a little bit rogue. Will they be judged? Will they be criticised? And chances are that there's two things going on there. Sometimes people do judge, and the reason why they judge is because they're insecure themselves. I've judged people before, and ultimately it's because I've been stressed myself. But on the other hand, most people don't. People admire you when you're doing something that's a little bit rogue, that's a little bit fun, that's a little bit quirky, that's really stepping out of your comfort zone and being you. People admire that. But then equally, if you're in a place where you're feeling quite stuck, then it would make sense that you would maybe find it hard to really express yourself, to really maybe take a risk that risk could be linked with all sorts of things to do with your past, like when you were little and your attachment style and all those sorts of things have a big impact. And when I was thinking about this in this title, I was thinking about creativity and how often people struggle with creativity. And I was thinking that I've seen a lot, recently I've seen a lot of things about mindset and a lot of things about mindset being in the head. And, you know, more often now people are thinking about the nervous system, talking about the nervous system. They are in my algorithm anyway. And talking about emotional regulation a little bit more, but not as much. Maybe talking a bit more about mental health. But the way that it's maybe considered is in your head. And lots of people are really in your head rather than speaking from the heart and rather than living from the heart and being in flow and allowing yourself to just do something that's a bit quirky. Like, ask for things that if someone's made you a coffee and they've accidentally put more sugar in and you didn't have sugar, be able to stand up and say, actually, I don't have sugar, I did say not sugar. But we often try to please people so that we haven't got that sense of being rejected. And these are the sorts of things that I feel like I've been through all of this ups and downs, and humans generally do experience these things. And maybe this is a bit of a criticism myself of those mindset gurus out there that just say, oh, well, you've got to get sorted out. Don't kind of worry about being judged, or don't care what people think. But ultimately, we are hardwired for connection, and how we interact with people is so important, and it can make a big difference in how we see ourselves. And I feel like I want to talk a bit more about attachment in a more sort of factual way at some point. But our attachment to our caregivers and to our primary caregivers at early infancy really shape how we show up in life, whether we're got this secure attachment where we feel secure in ourselves, we feel confident in who we are, we can also trust other people, and we can have faith to explore the world, and we can separate from other people without there being an issue. But then there's anxious attachment, where somebody would feel that they would be seeking to be close to that person, but maybe struggle to explore the world and maybe feel quite insecure about themselves. And then we've got avoidant attachment, where somebody would feel want to be distant away from somebody, but then rely on themselves and depend on themselves. But they're quite happy to go and explore the world and try new things and go out and explore things. And then some people experience a disorganised attachment, where sometimes they might feel a draw towards a caregiver, sometimes they might feel this push-pull, and they might feel that about themselves. They might have a real sense of fear about the world, and so actually there's no consistency. And these attachment patterns can really shape how we step forward into our life, how we interact with other people. And we can have a different attachment depending on who we're with. I work with a lot of children who have been looked after children, or been adopted, or been in different situations, some of which have lived in many different households. And their first attachment has a big impact, of course, to how they interact with other people. But also the new carer's attachment style has an impact on them. So when we have this mindset about locating the problem within an individual, locating the problem within the child, actually, on one hand, there are things that you can take responsibility for. You can absolutely take responsibility and make choices in your life and learn and grow. But also, I think it's really important to recognise that your experiences and the environment that you're in, and the people around you, and the systems and organisations, those systemic things really, really do have an impact. And I think it's purely robotic to distance yourself from that and just dismiss that. So being able to really acknowledge and empathise and mentalise what it might be like to be in a situation for somebody is one of those key things that I've been doing and experiencing as an art therapist over the years, and doing it probably times that I was doing it as a child as well, second guessing people, maybe times when I was having to step into a different role for myself. But these are the sort of skills that come into life when you're wanting to express yourself, when you're wanting to connect with your true self, when you're wanting to be creative, do things for your own self-development, work out what the noggins am I going to do with my life? I'm 47 now. How the heck am I going to be living my life? Have I even got a purpose in life? Those kind of questions are really normal. And actually that urgency that kick up the bum to go out and do something for you, allow yourself to be it's my era. Call it a midlife crisis. You could call it a midlife revelation, where you actually choose to prioritise yourself. You might have years where you've been putting your focus or playing small because you've maybe not wanted to. It's been scary to play big. It's been scary to rock the boat, sort of thing. You might have had to sit on the fence with a lot of things. And that can still be scary as an adult. Like, it might have started as a child, but it can still be scary as an adult. Or some of the organisations that you've worked in, if you've had a really stressful job environment, that can really impact on the how you show up in a work. If you've been criticised or challenged unnecessarily, and you've maybe not felt safe enough to challenge procedures, then that can really affect you and your mental health. And these are the sort of things that lead to burnout. But what happens is often that the burnout conversation ends up being that person was burnt out, rather than the organisation was set up in such a way that it created an environment that wasn't safe for people. So therefore, people weren't able to ask for help, or people weren't able to ask for a day off if they were feeling their mental health was waning in some sort of way, or if they needed to do something. They weren't given that flexibility. So as a result, they were put in this place where they were made to feel that there was something wrong with them. So I suppose there's a bit of a systemic gaslighting that goes on with that, which it makes me somewhat angry about that, because it can feel like there's somewhat a lack of control with it. It can feel really hard to feel empowered beyond those things. But this is where creativity comes in, and where it can help with self-expression. So making art can give that foundation, that starting point where somebody can create the art to feel grounded, to feel like have a reset your nervous system, get regulated, feel like you know where you are, like you've got a solid ground. If you were trying to balance a cup, got yogurt we're going to fill this cup, fill your cup. Nobody can pour from an empty cup. We've got a cup, let's pour the water in. But if you're balancing on a rubbishy thing like that, it's just going to fall all over. So having the art and other ways of developing a robust nervous system and systems and things around you that can make you feel solid is like that, having a solid grounding, building that foundation to balance your cup on, to fill your cup, building those foundations to build your house on, and to then say, what's the rest of my life going to be looking like? And how can I express myself knowing now that I've got that good foundation, that I understand who I am, I understand my triggers, I understand even like within the space of the conversation, there might be a trigger and a realisation, an insight that comes up. So understanding those things can be a key to then move past them. But in the interest of this being a robot, I see so many people going round the world. Well, I mean, not everyone just goes around the world like this. Going around the world, been around the world, going around the world, their day-to-day life, doing everything robotically. And as much as routine can help people, as much as having a set plan can help people, give it 20 years' time, you're thinking, well, what did I do? What did I even remember from the last 10 years? Everything was just routined and regulated. And that's the same with sometimes with people's emotions. They can appear to be really confident and really certain and really articulate about what they're going to be saying. And actually, that doesn't mean that they're saying any words that are better, but just that they happen to have a good vocabulary, they happen to know some big words, or they happen to be able to say it in a way that people might believe them, or they might be tall, for instance, or they might have a certain look of somebody in your life that reminded you of somebody in power. So that might make you kind of think, oh, I must believe them because they look like my old teacher when I was at primary school and they were the ones that were in charge and they must know, they must be right. But that's nonsense, because what's probably happening more than anything, instead of them saying this very set thing, this very real thing that they consider to be true, is that they're doing it in a robotic way. I'm not picking on anyone in particular here, this is just ideas. They're doing it in a robotic way. You might be doing this, you might be just going around going, blah, 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 everything's fine, we'll do this, but actually, when we get down into the surface, this isn't someone that's regulated and calm and confident. This is someone that may struggle to express themselves or may have a fear of saying the wrong thing. So you say, you, they, who, whatever, that says something that might fit inside a box, that might fit inside a category, that might feel like the right thing to say. And fair play to them, because sometimes those strategies that have been used, that strategy has probably been necessary at some point for survival, necessary to be able to keep people close and maybe take the next step in a career or in school or in education, and those sorts of things aren't needed anymore. Like when you're an adult and you're working and you can live, I suppose an example of this would be if someone's going to work and acting in a certain way in the corporate environment, and then they're going home and allowing themselves to just relax and just feel liberated and free. And or it could be the other way around, that somebody could be in a feel a bit like at home they've got to fulfill a particular duty, and then they go to work to do something that they really enjoy and that gives them meaning and purpose. So many people go on holidays every year, and that's what they escape their jobs, to escape their lives and stuff, rather than creating a life that you love so you don't need a holiday. I mean, I say do both, create a life that you love and go on holidays, but it just feels like if you were to question, this is the call for you, just to question whether you are being a robot in some ways in your life. If you're doing things on autopilot, if you're doing things that's maybe feeling quite mediocre or feeling quite flat, when you want to be kind of really expressing yourself like this, or just you want to express and allow your feelings to show, then just ask yourself what that's like, and ask yourself who that's serving, and ask yourself what it would be like if you made that shift. And sometimes people talk about stepping out of your comfort zone, and that being maybe about success or achievement, or about going and doing a parachute jump or a bungee jump, or going and climbing Mount Everest or something like that. But actually, the human connections and the humanness and how we show up as ourselves can be a humongous step out of your comfort zone to really keep moving and keep making those shifts towards really who you really are, making those shifts. And that comes with a bit of vulnerability. It comes with some courage to be able to not have a script, and to maybe be able to blurt something out if you need to, if it feels right, in order to express yourself. I'm sat weird, this is rubbish. To blurt something out if it feels essential to say. But then, or times when you might need to sort of want to choose to regulate and not to, wait until the timing's right, because you may be thinking about the emotions of the other person, and what that might not be, it might be upsetting for somebody. But it's getting that middle ground, and that middle ground isn't agitated and aggressive here, and it isn't flat and monotone. It's more in the middle. And it's more of a, just like this energy maybe, and this flow, like being in flow and being in harmony, rather than considering that let's all be calm. Be calm can be really flat. People can feel like, I'm bored being calm, I don't want to be calm, I want to express myself, I want to scream, I want to like break free. Oh, you know, why do we live our lives like this, plod, and then suddenly get to whatever age and suddenly kind of go, I've had enough, I've really had enough, and actually, like, oh, what am I going to do with my midlife crisis? I'm going to go and do this, do that. But actually, the majority of the shift comes when you don't suddenly go and learn to get a motorbike or something, or suddenly run a marathon. But when you truly step into yourself and choosing to be more you, and allowing those little subtleties of who you are to keep coming up and to keep showing up, and show up even if you don't feel like it, or notice when you are not really feeling it, but just being genuine and accepting of and compassionate towards who you are and how you are and where you're wanting to be. It's okay to have desires. It's okay to say, actually, I'm not happy with where I am. I want to do more. I want to achieve more. I want to be more. I want to meet people and experience that. Have a bit more fun. And yes, this is where I'm at. And by no means robotic in this. And for a long time, I wouldn't necessarily, I'd maybe feel a bit erratic talking on social media and talking about what I do and how I help people. And I feel a bit like I've needed to do a lot of work for myself. A lot of my subconscious work, a lot of healing, a lot of stuff has come up, and perimenopause can feel a bit like a plaster ripping off and revealing all the surface gunk underneath. And that's something to work through, and you can either just put the plaster back on, cover it up, and just keep plodding on your life, or you can rip that plaster off and feel a bit of pain, feel something, and then let it heal naturally, and then step forwards. And life does have its ups and downs. Like, as much as you could be as optimistic as you possibly can, but you can still feel sorrow. You can be as confident and as badass as you like, and you can still feel like sadness. And like, mental health can hit people regardless of how much they earn or make in a year. No matter how, well, you can have a six-pack or like the brains of Britain, brains of the world, and really struggle with your mental health. And if you don't, then maybe you're not that human. Maybe you're not that human, but my guess is that you're not a robot. And anyway, that is my rant of the day. Ooh, I think I might, since I've got this week, we've got 7 days left now for you to have a little watch of all my stuff. Switch off if you don't like it. You can kind of go, oh my God, I don't even like her voice. How can I cope with 4 months hanging out with Leslie? But if you do like what I'm doing, or if you think that you know somebody else that would benefit from joining any of my stuff, including the Creative Flow programme, which there's a week left to join, then send me a DM with any questions you've got. Hit me up with that. Make sure that you're following on. If you've got any of the stuff that I've created, watch, find out, have a look and read through the link that's in my bio that's got the information on there, the full information, not just a clip. And I'd love to have you join, especially if this message resonates with you. If this message resonates, if you're not wanting to be sort of following the status quo, like realising you might be on a road less travelled, you might be feeling that your life hasn't gone the way that you planned, or you might not have necessarily planned, but you might be questioning what's going on for your life. It might be that you don't fit in with sort of the normal expectation of what success is. 2.4 children, whatever. But actually, these are you're part of that, being able to step beyond that and use creativity to really anchor in your best self and anchor in your best mental health so that you can really express yourself. Because actually, as much as the reason why some of these things are scary to do is because you've not got that foundations, we've not got that pouring from an empty cup thing. So you have to have a solid base to put your cup. So anyway, that's all from me. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk of the day, and bye. Remember to stay being you. Bye.